Hey, Melanin fam, it's your girl Shelby,
And I'm Erica.
and welcome to another episode of All Things Melanin TV. So, today we're going to chat about something that many people deal with that I don't feel like we talk about a lot,
Right.
including myself. Um, and that's going to be imposter syndrome. So, to set the stage a little bit, I honestly, friend, didn't realize how many people deal with imposter syndrome. And I'm talking about people that are highly intelligent, highly you know, up the corporate ladder and who have
Mhm.
amazing things going for themselves, um, that were experiencing and that do experience imposter syndrome. But
Yeah.
before, we get into today's chat, you know, let's run the definition in some stats.
Come on, give us stats.
Okay, so let's define it first. And this definition is from Forbes. So Forbes defines Forbes defines imposter syndrome as a pervasive feeling of self doubt surrounding an individual's intelligence, abilities, and accomplishments, even when the individual has demonstrated competence in the past. So basically, you're just being like somebody that performs well, that does well, and probably outperforms a lot of people, just
Mhm.
thinking, do I deserve to be in the room? And do people think that I'm an imposter? And when are they going to
Mm.
figure it out? Like,
Mhm.
that's what I feel like a lot of imposter syndrome is.
Mhm.
And that's honestly been my experience when I felt that way.
Mhm.
Some stats about that. And this is, I did not write where I got this from, but I'll put it in the show notes. Around 25 to 30% of high achievers may suffer from imposter syndrome, which is a lot, you
Yeah.
guys. And around 70% of adults may experience imposter syndrome at least once in their lifetime, research suggests. And if we're just thinking about it in the grand scheme of things, those stats are wild and it is so crazy. But I hope that if you are experiencing it, that you know first and foremost that you're not alone. And this
Right.
is way more normal
Yeah.
than we even think or assume. So, in knowing the definition, friend, and in
Mhm.
knowing the stats,
Mhm.
um, have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome? And if you have, where do you think that stems from and in what capacity?
Yes, I'm dealing with it now. In my design business and career moves.
Hmm.
Um, because a little backstory. Well, I feel it the most when I'm actually around my peers in that industry because they have been professionals in this industry for 10, 20, 30 years. And I'm like the little guppy trying to
Not the
like
guppy.
learn how to swim. And so sometimes when I'm in these meetings or these get togethers or these showrooms or these conferences, I feel so intimidated and so like, should I even be here? Like, why am I even here? Like, so, and that's all in my mind, right? Because
Right.
I do feel like nobody thinks that about me. I don't truly believe that those peers think that about me. It's my
Right.
own thoughts. And so it stems from me going to college. I've shared this story before. It's on my website too. I went to college for architecture and interior design and I was rejected from the program. So
Mm.
I didn't end up graduating with that degree, but that had always been my dream since 2005.
Mm.
So when I got rejected from the program, it did something to me that I didn't even realize until several years later, that it shied me away and it did something to my confidence and my me feeling like I really actually have the ability, the
Mhm.
smarts, the creativity to do this. And when I was rejected from that, I think I carried that with me for so long,
Mhm.
not even really understanding that I was carrying it. Like at the
Yeah.
time, I just moved on, did another major, and graduated. But when I started trying to revisit the world of interior design, and I started getting
Mm.
around people that were actually doing this, I all of a sudden felt like I don't deserve to be here because you were
Mm.
rejected in college. So why are you here now? Like, didn't you not learn a lesson from college? Like, you cannot do this. And that's
Yeah.
nothing but the voice of the enemy and our own voices that discourage us from feeling like you have what it takes to be here.
Mhm.
You should be in this room.
Right.
Why shouldn't you be in this room? And
Right.
as long as you know, you hear people say, fake it till you make it.
You
That
got
is
to.
so true. Like,
You definitely
put on
do.
your suit, put on your best shoes, your best wig, lay them edges down, and walk in that room like you belong to be in there, just as the president of the company belongs to should be in there too.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. What about you?
Yeah, so I have and do deal with imposter syndrome. I think lately or recently I've tried to I've been able to take it down a lot. But I think for me, I really honestly didn't experience imposter syndrome until I got into corporate America. Like a little bit of backstory. So my mom was an educator for 35 plus years. And so as an educator, one thing that I just pride my mom on, and I love her, that's my girl, because if you know, you know. My mama really built my confidence to be on 1,000. Like if you knew young Shelby, there's nothing that I did not think that I can do. And I think that's what my mom was supposed to do, and I'm so glad that she did it. When I got to corporate America, I didn't really realize how political it was and how political it can be, and how clicky it could be. And so I definitely experienced this, particularly at the first job that we had together,
Yeah.
where we met. And I have spent years and years and years undoing it to the point to where I feel like I finally cracked it. But with my experience, I'm fresh out of college. I have this fresh degree that I'm ready to use. Also a little other bit of background. While me and Erica were working together and I started that job, I also started grad school. So I'm working full time. I'm going to grad school full time. I'm still trying to show them be a good friend, a good daughter. I'm trying to be out here and live my life. I'm doing all the things. I'm overperforming at work. I'm doing great. I'm getting all these accolades. But as promotions and opportunities come up, it's like I'm never good enough. I can't get them. I'm not really ready yet. We went with somebody else. All of these different things, and I think for me it was really hard because a lot of the times the people that were getting the opportunities at these opportunities were not qualified for the opportunities. They were just like people who were favorites or people who didn't have the experience or people who were just buddy buddy with people. And after that happens for so long, it's gonna make you take a hit to your confidence,
Yeah.
and to all of the things. And so it honestly ended up becoming like a really toxic work environment for me and for Erica, as well as um just really like impacting my mental and emotional health, as well as really contributing to my imposter syndrome, because I started saying like, am I good enough, am I smart enough, why don't I have the tools, why aren't they looking at me for all of these things versus this person. And one thing that I realized looking back is that that I dealt with is this, like, that was not going to be a space and a place for me to grow and to be nurtured and to do all of the things. And looking back, I'm so glad that I didn't, because I don't want to be there no more. Horrible place. Do not recommend. 0 out of 10. But glad I met Erica. And so as I think about those experiences when I went into my next jobs that I had, I realized that I was a lot more timid and I just didn't have like as much work confidence as I wanted to. And I remember at the job I went to after that, I worked at an agency, and I worked in an environment for the first time where somebody encouraged me, where somebody was advocating for me, where somebody was pushing me to be better, because I deserve to be in the room because I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I have all of these things. And I remember my director at the time looking me in my face and she was like, Shelby, you are so smart and intelligent. You can do this, but you need to think that you can do this. And so that was so impactful for me, because when she said that, it was like she was essentially, and she doesn't even know this to this day, it's like she was undoing like
Mhm.
4 years of like just detriment that previous job had done to me. And I remember even the job that I'm at currently now, like she set in motion for me now to be more confident. Because if we're being honest, I like what I do. I personally like working a 9 to 5. I really do. I know some people don't, but I do. So the girlies that do, come on, my people. I really actually like working a 9 to 5, but like in my 9 to 5, I think that um in the space and place I'm at, just being open, honest, and transparent. Like, there are not a lot of people that look like me. And I think that's more normal for people than we like to admit. And I think that sometimes when you don't see anybody that looks like you as well, that can contribute to your imposter syndrome. But I think just having um somebody in my corner that to talk to about it. And one thing that I've had to start telling myself is that, like, if I'm here, I belong in the room and I can speak up and say whatever I need to say. I can share my ideas and I can go to bat. Because if people are giving me all these accolades, if they're telling me I'm smart, if they're telling me I'm intelligent, if they're telling me Shelby's killing it, she's doing a good job, X, Y, and Z, then why don't I think that? And
Mhm.
even if they're not saying, wherever you are at the job, at the company, in the position, in the business, in the brand, if you are in the room, you deserve to be in the room. And if you're not in the room yet, you still deserve
Deserve
to
to
be in
be
the
in the
room.
room.
And I think something for me that has helped me with my imposter syndrome is declaring faith over myself, but also affirming myself. And
Yes.
kind of what you said, friend, just like affirming my, faking it till I make it, honestly.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll be like, you know, wait, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to go in there and do it. And I think in the majority of cases that I've been in my life in the past 4 years, like nobody has thought, to your point, friend, that like, oh, Shelby shouldn't be here. They're mostly like,
Nobody.
Shelby, what are your ideas? Or we're so glad you're here, or that was a really good thing that you did. And so I think that if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, I think one way to do it is to have a brag list. To write down all of your accomplishments, to write down all the kudos that you get. Like even any kudos that I get at work, I have a kudos folder. If you say something nice to me, if you send it to my manager, if you send me a message, because I save everything, I'm gonna put it in that kudos folder. And I think that that's also like a really good pick me up if
Mhm.
you need it.
Yes, I agree with that, and it's so hard to break basically keep it at bay. So that's what I
Yeah.
want to talk about is like what are the suggestions to keep it at bay, or
Hmm.
like how do you actually overcome it? Because I personally feel like it's something that will always be there, kind of like in the
Yeah.
background.
And I feel like it's normal.
Yes.
You know?
So how do we overcome it? What do you think?
Okay, so before we talk about how we overcome it, I just want to chat about, because we just chatted about like how we've experienced imposter
Hmm.
syndrome and where we feel like it stemmed to, but it can also stem from, these are just obviously not all, but some
Signs.
suggestions, signs. So some causes of imposter syndrome tend to be childhood experiences, competitive workplace, marginalized communities, negative stereotyping.
Mm,
And I feel like if you're experiencing to a point where it's crippling you or it's taking over your thoughts and feelings, please seek professional help. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking professional help. And I think that they will be able to give you the tools that you need to navigate in a healthier space. Common signs of imposter syndrome are perfectionism, super heroism, over preparing me, fear of failure, me, denial of competence and ability. And so I'm gonna pause right there. I think all of these, like we don't even think about these being like
no.
common signs of imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
but they are, and I think they're good to be aware of.
Yeah.
And then 5 suggestions or strategies to overcome imposter syndrome. Um, Change your thought patterns. Um, this is good. Separate your experience from inability.
Mm.
Acknowledge your accomplishments, which I think is a big one. Confide in a trusted source, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or a professional.
Yeah.
Um, but most importantly, and I say this a lot, be kind to yourself.
Yes. You do say that a lot. You say give yourself grace a lot.
Yeah,
And I think that's another way to overcome it too. Because like I said, anytime you go to the next level in your career or
yeah.
your whatever you're doing, there's gonna be that imposter
Oh
syndrome. And like
yeah.
I said, I don't think that anybody's really sitting around thinking, "Oh, why are you in here?" Like there might be a one or two. There's always a hater somewhere, but I don't really think. I think it's our own thoughts and minds.
Right.
So I think the really good suggestion you did was the brag list or
Mhm.
affirmations
Yeah,
or pumping yourself up.
you have to.
And because if you really get to the root of why do you think you're not supposed to be here, so
Yeah.
getting to the root of it, y'all, like we all are dealing with it, and I feel like a lot of times none of us know what we really doing for real.
We're winging it.
Like we all faking it until we make it.
Oh,
so
for sure.
so don't think that everybody got it together, because we don't.
Right. And I think that like people at a higher level, like C-suite executive level, leadership level, I think a lot of them experience imposter syndrome,
Yes.
more imposter syndrome than we think. And I think, and it's just my personal opinion, um, I think a lot of women experience imposter syndrome. And then I
Hmm.
think to add another layer to that, I think a lot of women of color, particularly Black women, um, experience imposter syndrome for whatever reason. And I
Yes.
think for me, I think just knowing that this is way more normal um than I even think it is, like
Mhm.
really kind of like calms my anxiousness. I know
Yeah.
we've talked a lot about imposter syndrome today. We've thrown out some stats,
Stats.
we've thrown out some signs, we've thrown out
Sign.
all the things we've talked about in our experience. And
Mhm.
I really hope that, like, from our conversations that we've had today, that, like, first and foremost, that you do not feel alone,
Mhm.
that you feel seen and heard. I pray that you have a little bit of solace in knowing that, like, this is common,
Yeah.
and this is normal. But I also pray that you have solace in knowing that, like, you belong in every room that you're in, and you belong in rooms that you're not even in yet.
Yes.
And so, and I feel like imposter syndrome is just like such like a big thing and a big topic. Like, we'll never be able to cover everything today,
Mhm.
or just even scratch the surface of it.
Right.
But what would you say your takeaway is from today, or word of encouragement on imposter syndrome?
My biggest takeaway is I love how you laid out the facts and knowing that it's normal, because sometimes you think you're the only one that thinks like this.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with me? Why do I feel like I shouldn't be here? So that's my takeaway, is that this is a normal thing and I'm not weird for feeling like
Yes.
this, or nothing's wrong with me for thinking like that. And then also, I will take away the part where you said, remember to brag on yourself, because I
Yeah.
am such not that person, but I think it's necessary in times like this to remember how far you have come, and that you actually do deserve to be in those rooms. You probably
Hmm.
deserve to be in other rooms that
Come
you're not
on.
even in yet. So,
Listen.
so those would be my two major takeaways. What about you?
I love that, friend. And I think that, and obviously I agree with you, but I think just to um end out our episode today, like, my takeaway is to give yourself grace and to be kind to yourself, because you have already accomplished so much, whatever that is, and you are successful in your own right. And I think that sometimes you got to remember who the hell you are,
Period.
and you have to stand 10 toes down on it.
Period.
And if nobody has told you lately, you are amazing, you are great, you are loved, you are intelligent, and you can do any and everything that you set your mind to. Like Erica says, you belong in every room that you're in, and even rooms that you're not even in yet. But,
Yeah.
like, you got to have that belief, but also sometimes you got to fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
So, in doing all that, please be kind to yourself, and please give yourself grace, because we are all out here winging it, and we are all out here feeling a lot of the same emotions. So I would definitely encourage you to, have a friend, talk to a professional, or, kind of gather a community together to talk about your emotions and feelings, but also to do things that, fill up your happiness jar.
Yes, you're not in it alone. We in it too. So we want you to do is leave in the comments an affirmation. I have what it takes. Write that in the comments as many times you want to. We believe you. Write it down, make it plain. It's gonna happen. You believe
Listen,
what you write down. You believe what you think you are. So I have what it takes. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. And we thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here on All Things Melanin TV. Bye.
bye, y'all.